It's time now for County-Wide, a presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. You'll hear about the interesting issues and happenings that affect all our lives. Here's today's County-Wide.
Well, good day and welcome to the program. I'm Brad Miller, and we're happy to welcome into studio Trisha Berlowe is the director of a terrific program that is some 18 or so years old now.
On this side of the mountain, that's true.
Through Yavapai College here in the Clarkdale campus, the Cottonwood area. And that's the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute, the OLLI program. Hugely popular. I know we've done programs with some of your folks in the past. They were delightful. And it's been too long, so we apologize for that, but I'm happy to have you in studio today.
Thank you so much for having me.
We're going to talk about, again, the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute. It's kind of an acronym. OLLI is what we're going to call it for the rest of the program, the shorthand, but it's just what it sounds like, right? Lifelong learning. Seniors, people who've been around the horn a little bit.
That's a good way to put it. Sometimes I say, people with a lot of life experience, people of retirement age. You don't actually have to be retired.
Right.
We have people in their 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, all who participate. If you're in your 40s and you have flexibility and want to join us, you are more than welcome. If you're in your 20s, you're actually more than welcome.
Sure.
I don't want to feel like we're exclusively, but it is an older adult community. So it's good to know if you show up and you're looking to bond with people. Most of our folks will have graying hair. And we run an amazing program where everyone joins as a member of OLLI, and then our members actually produce our classes. Yeah. And we do have guests come in to do produce classes, but we do somewhere around 50 to 60 classes every 6-week term. So we start and stop all year because we know retirees travel.
Yeah.
Retirees don't necessarily want to commit to a 16-week credit class, even if they're interested in learning. Right. So a little tidbit here, maybe a one-time class, a 2-week class, a 4-week class, a 6-week class fits really well into retirees' schedules. And
classes are beginning as we speak this week.
Yeah, this week is our fall 2 schedule.
Okay.
So they started yesterday, but it's not too late at all to enroll. And we have many classes that don't start till next week, the week after, one-time offerings. We have free offerings to the public, too, if you just want to kind of check us out and get a taste of what we do and then come all in.
And be a part of it.
Yes.
One of the most interesting things I found about this the first time we talked so many years ago, and that it continues to be really the heart and soul of the program, is what you said about this becomes I can't remember how you phrased it, kind of a user fulfilled program. You draw on the experience of people within the community and those who might be interested in this type of higher education in the first place.
Right. So this is what we call it is member-driven, which means the people who are joining us and helping to produce the classes make the decisions. What direction should we go in? Should we offer more one-time things and fewer multi-week things because that's the trends right now and what people are hoping for? Should we add some more travel? Hint, hint, we are. So we have all sorts of things going on, but it's really, it's not some me sitting in some ivory tower making decisions. Yeah. It is the people on the ground who are so love and engage. I hear over and over when people talk about OLLI and the role that OLLI plays in their life. When you retire, you lose that social circle that you had at work, right? If you choose to move because you think, wow, I want to get to a beautiful climate like Sedona or the Verde Valley, wouldn't this be great? So you sell your house wherever, you move to this new community, and then you look up and go, oh, I don't have work. I met my neighbors once, but they were nice and waved, and that's it. Right. What am I going to do all day long? And how am I going to meet people and find people who, have the same interests than I are, or even just challenge what I believe, and we have an interesting conversation. And OLLI really fulfills that role for people. So it has to do with socialization. We do a lot more than just offer classes. You don't just go to class and come home. People form friendships and bonds. We do social events. It's lovely because we have the viticulture program here at Yavapai College. So there's wine
right.
involved. And then we have the culinary program in the Sedona Center for Yavapai College. And so there's often food involved. So we have these events where people just get together and socialize. So it's not just coming, go to class, go home.
What was the seed for this? If we can go back 18 years, I don't know if you were in this position, but the history of it, I know you're familiar with.
Right.
It just sounds like there was a demand, but identifying that demand is the tricky part. How did Yavapai College manage to do it and give us this program?
So we're actually talking 31 years ago now.
Okay.
So back in Prescott about 31 years ago, I was not involved at that point, although I had just moved to Prescott at that point, so I was a local by then. There was a professor on campus getting ready to retire, and he was looking around at what he had as options and said, again, I don't want to take a 16-week class.
Right.
There's some interesting things there, but I don't want to write a paper anymore. I don't want to do homework. I want something that is designed to keep me stimulated, keep me learning, help me meet new people as I retire, but in a way that really fits a new lifestyle, right? Yeah. So they came up with this whole model, which is the volunteer-based, and they called it the Yavapai Learning Institute at the time.
Okay.
It's been the same model ever since. Volunteers, you join OLLI, and then the volunteers themselves are producing the classes, maybe bringing in guest speakers, that kind of thing. Then they slowly grew over time. And about, I think now it must be 19 years ago, we came across the Osher Foundation. So that's what Osher came from. When you hear Osher Lifelong Learning Institute, some people think I'm saying OSHA, like safety.
Yeah.
No. It's the last name of a family who loved the idea of lifelong learning in retirement so much that they wanted to make sure that there were OLLIs all across the country. And so we applied and were accepted, and we're a little unusual, and we should be super proud that there's only 5 community colleges across the country that have an OLLI.
Really?
The 124 OLLIs across the country, 5 of us are community colleges. Mostly that they're at huge universities in the middle of big cities. And they've provided funding. And what happened with that 18, 19 years ago is the funding from that Osher Foundation helped us to expand into the Verde Valley. So paid for the staff to be able to get everything established. And now it supplements our income so we can keep things very low, very inexpensive.
It sounds like what Yavapai College had envisioned very much blended pretty well.
It was amazing.
With Osher.
Right, exactly.
What their philosophy. And
And Osher is the best funding source I've ever come across in my whole career because they don't prescribe, this is how you do it if you accept our money. They just said, you're serving people of retirement age. Those people have to have a voice in what's happening.
Yeah.
And it's, based in education, you're attached to some kind of educational institution like Yavapai College.
Right.
So, and then you figure out the rest. So we make our own rules. They're not telling us exactly how we need to do it. So we can offer 6 weeks or 4 weeks or 2 weeks or international travel, which is what I'm going to add this next year.
It sounds almost like an kind of an informal approach to a very formal dynamic.
Yes.
We think of classroom learning and somewhat rigid and very well designed and it sounds like this is find a way to put the fun back into classroom learning.
Yes, but we do almost everything. So you can learn how to do pickleball. We do hiking. So getting people out in the community, especially if you're not familiar with things. We do much more serious topics. We talk about current events, the economy, and often these are facilitators from OLLI who have unbelievable careers. They are frankly intimidating to me. Oh, hey, I'm Trisha. Nice to meet you. And then they're like, yeah, I have a PhD in this, and I ran that, and I was, whatever. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, great. Do you want to facilitate? And they're like, yeah, I do. I'm like, oh, good. So we really have these folks who come in with these amazing backgrounds, and so they have so much to offer. But the other richness about OLLI is that it's not like there's an expert at the head of the room and everybody else is 18 years old and just absorbing, right?
Right.
Totally different dynamic.
Right.
The rest of the room also has an amazing background, amazing experience. I've been there to Spain to visit whatever that you're talking about the history of, and I was on that battlefield or whatever it is.
See, that's incredible.
Yeah. So then they add all of this richness to that discussion. So it's never just a one-way discussion, ever. It's this dynamic discussion. We have this fabulous class called Science, News, and Views, where we have a lot of people who are scientists, retired, or at least interested in science, and they all prepare. So individuals throughout the class go and do a little bit of research, trip over an article they read, heard a podcast and go, God, that was interesting.
I want to dive deeper into XYZ.
They dive a little deeper and they put together just a 20-minute to share with everybody else. Hey, I heard this really cool thing on a podcast last week. It's about the bottom of the ocean.
Right.
I'm talking about I really heard. Yeah. And that there might be oxygen actually coming out of the rocks at the bottom of the ocean. That's part of how oxygenation is happening in the bottom of the ocean.
Right.
That we didn't even know existed. And they're just discovering it now. So that's the kind of thing they could just do a tidbit that shares with the rest of the room. We don't have to, again, get a PhD.
There's not a book. There's not a quiz.
No quiz. No. Occasionally there are books because sometimes we'll read and discuss book chapters.
Right.
But that's relatively rare, and you can choose or not choose to participate in that versus, the rest of them, it's you show up. Sometimes you might do a little prep work. We have some TED Talks based classes.
And I was going to say, that's kind of what this sounds like.
You watch a TED Talk, but then the deal is you could sit at home and watch a TED Talk, and that was interesting.
Right.
And then you go on with your day, right? And maybe you don't even think about it again. The gem about discussing material like that, if you have somebody else to talk about with and someone else will point out something you missed in an OLLI class, hey, I noticed this, or I went and read that because I thought, hey, that can't be true. When you heard the TED Talk, suddenly it just gets much more alive, and it gives you more engagement with that material, and it gives you interesting things to talk about over dinner. When you get together with your kids and your grandkids, you can say, hey, guess what I know about the bottom of the ocean and the oxygenation coming out of rocks, and this is whatever. Makes you a more interesting dinner companion.
It's personal enrichment kind of taken to the nth degree.
It is, but you can just pursue whatever kind of floats your boat.
Extraordinary. All right, plenty more to talk about, including an event that is coming up. We didn't sidetrack it too much. We want to talk about it. As of this recording, it is sold out. An event coming up on November 2nd, a big one, and one in a series of terrific events. So we'll talk a little bit about that. More with the OLLI program, the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute. The director, Trisha Berlowe, is our guest. It's countywide. We'll be back right after this.
Life changes, then it changes again. Predicting the unexpected in life is impossible. That's why it's called unexpected. So when it comes to financial goals, our philosophy is don't predict, prepare. Hi, I'm Edward Jones financial advisor Matthias Sandoval. A job loss, change in health, or a loss of a loved one can have a big impact on your family's financial security. Let's work together to help make sure you're equipped for life's unexpected events. Call our office to schedule a face-to-face appointment.
Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Member SIPC.
Verde Solaire, your hometown heating, air conditioning, and plumbing company in the Verde Valley. And your trusted North Central Arizona Goodman dealer. Goodman is a name you can trust with the revolutionary Comfort Bridge technology factory installed into select Goodman gas furnaces and air handlers to ensure the entire system operates at peak energy efficient performance. Verde Solaire offers free in-home estimates, locally owned and operated since 1983. Visit them at verdesolaire.com. Better, cleaner, faster.
Thank you so very much for your generosity and kindness in helping others. I hope that you take advantage of the many Arizona state tax credits available when giving to qualified charities and schools. If you haven't taken advantage, I hope you'll ask your favorite charity if they qualify. You can go to Arizona Department of Revenue website, search for tax credits, and look at the list of qualifying charities. Then look at your latest Arizona income tax return and see how an Arizona tax credit can benefit many. This is Lewis saying thanks again.
Let's talk. That's the message from Jonna Randall Murdoch, your local Farm Bureau agent, providing a personal touch when making insurance and financial decisions. Jonna will simplify your insurance needs while offering competitive pricing. Let's talk auto, home, life, and farm. Call Jonna at Farm Bureau today at 928-649-8686. Your Cottonwood Farm Bureau property and casualty insurance company. At Farm Bureau, they insure more than just farms.
Welcome back to the program. I'm Brad Miller. Trisha Berlowe is our guest today. Trisha is the director of the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute, the OLLI program, through Yavapai College. Now, Trisha, one thing we were going to talk a little bit more in depth about today, and we're going to sidebar it a tiny bit. Coming up on November 2nd, the Ernest Love Prescott Hometown Hero, part of the speaker series, Don Bayer, is going to give a talk, but it's sold out.
It is. So
we don't want to solicit more folks, but
sort of.
What happens now?
So let's back up one step. I just want to talk about, this is called the Jane Ready Speaker Series. Yeah. We started it a year ago, so this is the second inaugural. Is that how you say it? Second year.
I think so.
talk. Last year, we had an amazing speaker, another OLLI member, Leslie Zan, who is a nationally known professional motivational speaker, talk about how to basically be brave in retirement and not make your world smaller, but make your world bigger. And try the things you never,
That's
it's like
great.
dare to, give some things a shot that you never did before. She was amazing. We had a sold out room, and I say sold out, but this is free. So I don't know how to say that other than that, but these are all free events that we offer through OLLI. So this year we are featuring Don Bear. Don is, I don't even know how to tell you. He is one of the best facilitators we have. He is a gifted storyteller. So he takes the facts, whatever the facts are when he's talking about it. He is an aviator. He's a pilot.
Sure.
He was a commercial pilot. He was, an Air Force pilot. He has had an amazing career. But the other thing he did do was he was a docent at the National Air and Space Museum for 34 years in Washington, D.C. So he knows every inside and out of every airplane, every spacecraft.
Oh, good. He's my bucket list guy.
Oh, my God. So he will, tell us what happened on one of these tragic space events, right?
Sure.
Where they took off.
Yeah.
But what he does is he's got some inside knowledge of getting some video clips or some other things from the Air and Space Museum, which has been a huge gift. And then he will, instead of just telling you the facts, well, here's what happened, and they took off, and there was a fire, and this is terrible.
Right.
And he shows you what the cockpit looks like, and he shows you where they were sitting, and he plays the recording of their communications back and forth with Houston or whatever. And then he explains what that means. Well, that means this, and this is what they were saying, because sometimes they're talking in practically code,
Someone
right?
who can interpret NASA-ese.
Right. So you're listening and you're like, well, okay, but what does that mean? He breaks it all down, and then he even talked about why they think this happened, what happened with the fire, whatever. He shows the aftermath. I mean, he has the room in tears, of course.
Yeah.
So he personalizes these stories, and you just get a whole nother perspective. And that's what he's doing for Earnest Love. So many people may have certainly noticed that our airport in Prescott is called the Earnest Love Prescott Airport. Who is Earnest Love?
What did he do?
Well, who's this guy?
You
Whatever. And what Don has done is done real deep research into his life. He was born in Prescott, this young man, back in let me think. My son was born in 1996, so he was born in 1895.
Okay.
And I know that because my son and Ernest are 101 years apart exactly.
There you go.
And my son was born in Prescott. We have a little. And so Ernest grew up in Prescott, went to Prescott High School at the time, went off to college, then became an aviator in World War I.
Right.
And then some things happened that were tragic, obviously. I think, obviously, that's how you get an airport named after you, right? So his life was lost. And then his mother was left in Prescott trying to find out what happened to him, honestly. Because, back in the day, there were very, it was letters back and forth.
Right.
Where is my son? What happened to my son?
To this day, it can be a tangled mess.
Correct.
Let alone 1915.
Yeah, whatever it was. Don Bear can tell you exactly.
Right.
Sorry,
right.
I should know that off the top of my head. But so what Don has done is put together this presentation that includes some video that shows what the planes were like back then.
Wow.
What Ernest would be climbing into. It looks like, yeah. Wooden, toy, and it's the real plane.
How you've described this, and this is just one speaker in the series, is you kind of take what you might get on a YouTube video.
Yes.
What you might get kind of browsing through a out-of-date textbook.
Sure.
You have trimmed it up and you have personalized it.
Yes.
You have interpreted it in a message that local people and the layman can understand.
Absolutely.
These are gifts.
These are gifts.
And these come from people that are in our community.
Yes.
And that are part of the OLLI program. Yeah,
and are willing to spend his time. And I actually think that often our facilitators get as much out of it as the participants.
Sure.
Because, first of all, I've heard people say to me over and over again, and this is sounds a little dramatic, but I think it's true, that OLLI has saved their life.
I don't doubt that a bit.
For people who have lost a spouse.
Right.
Who have been through maybe a lot of health issues themselves.
Right.
Or other things where they might have been stuck alone at home, disconnected, depressed, and really, floundering. Instead, OLLI gives them a community. It gives them a mission. It gives them a purpose. And it keeps them engaged and interested, even if part of their life has been really awful.
I wish my parents lived close by. Along that line, let me ask you, given the nature of the interactivity and the dynamic of the not classroom setting, that
Yes.
you're going out, you're doing things, you're hiking, you're doing these kinds of things.
Right.
I'm guessing that there's not an online component?
There is.
There is. Okay,
So,
that's great news.
About 20%.
You know what? I'm sorry, we got to take a break.
Okay.
Let's do that. We're only going to have a couple minutes. I should have had you for at least 3 episodes because we got a lot of fun discussion here. When we come back, we'll kind of wrap up. We'll talk about the online component of the OLLI program, the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute. Trisha Berlowe is the director of that program, and our guest will be back to Countywide right after this.
Life changes, then it changes again. Predicting the unexpected in life is impossible. That's why it's called unexpected. So when it comes to financial goals, our philosophy is don't predict, prepare. Hi, I'm Edward Jones financial advisor Matthias Sandoval. A job loss, change in health, or a loss of a loved one can have a big impact on your family's financial security. Let's work together to help make sure you're equipped for life's unexpected events. Call our office to schedule a face-to-face appointment.
Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Member SIPC.
Verde Solaire, your hometown heating, air conditioning, and plumbing company in the Verde Valley, and your trusted North Central Arizona Goodman dealer. Goodman is a name you can trust with the revolutionary Comfort Bridge technology, factory installed into select Goodman gas furnaces and air handlers to ensure the entire system operates at peak energy efficient performance. Verde Solaire offers free in-home estimates, locally owned and operated since 1983. Visit them at verdesolaire.com. Better, cleaner, faster.
Thank you so very much for your generosity and kindness in helping others. I hope that you take advantage of the many Arizona state tax credits available when giving to qualified charities and schools. If you haven't taken advantage, I hope you'll ask your favorite charity if they qualify. You can go to Arizona Department of Revenue website, search for tax credits, and look at the list of qualifying charities. Then look at your latest Arizona income tax return and see how an Arizona tax credit can benefit many. This is Lewis saying thanks again.
Let's talk. That's the message from Jonna Randall Murdoch, your local Farm Bureau agent, providing a personal touch when making insurance and financial decisions. Jonna will simplify your insurance needs while offering competitive pricing. Let's talk auto, home, life, and farm. Call Jonna at Farm Bureau today at 928-649-8686. Your Cottonwood Farm Bureau property and casualty insurance company. At Farm Bureau, they insure more than just farms.
Welcome back to the program as we begin to wrap up with Trisha Berlowe, director of the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute. You've given me a taste of what being in an OLLI classroom or a program might be.
Yes.
We're discussing fun and interesting things. And this program is certainly a fun and interesting thing. I regret we are kind of running out of time. There's a couple of things yet on the calendar you'd like to mention.
I would.
Let's do that.
Yeah, so we do have a free open to the public event coming up. It's on November 7th, so good timing. It's about, the title is Tiny Pluto Has a Big Heart. So it's talking about the discovery of Pluto up at the Lowell Observatory in Flagstaff.
Yeah.
So a great local connection, right? We'd love to have people come and join us. You can either come in person to the Clarkdale campus, or we do it on Zoom. So you could just be at home and watch on Zoom and submit questions and that kind of thing. You can call 928-649-4275.
Okay.
You can also go online to our website just to get a lot more information about OLLI. It's www.yc.edu/OLLI, which is
like
OLLI.
Terrific.
Yeah.
Wonderful. What a great program. Continues to do well after 30-some years in existence, almost 20 now in the Verde Valley area. This is great. We'll talk more in the spring. I know there's some things coming up then. Keep us posted on this speaker series. These are great. Unfortunately, the one coming up next on November 2nd has been sold out. It's a free event, but it's packed to the rafters. So stay tuned. Follow those websites and the information that Trisha has given us here today. Trisha Berlowe, our director, Osher Lifelong. I'm going to start over.
It's all right.
Trisha Berlowe is the director of the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute through Yavapai College and our guest today. I'm Brad Miller. It's Countywide. We'll see you next time.